So we were gonna have discussion about rights, um, and we just came from the stream that DPH was doing on the elections, and like we had already scheduled this conversation to happen. But since DPH was gonna stream so close to us, we decided that we'd participate in Codal Stream, and now we're over here. Hopefully, you will find this discussion fruitful. It's sort of a continuation of what has been discussed in the, let's say, orthosphere, and the more, let's say, Christian nationalist orthosphere. People like Andrew Wilson and Jim Bob have said that, let's say, they don't believe the rights exist. So here we have Nadim. Hi, Nadim. So long time no see, brother. So what?
Said hello there.
Hello there. Hello there. Do you want some tea?
Want a cup of tea?
A cuppa. A cuppa. Okay. So we're gonna wait for let's say John to jump in. But I don't know how you want to do this. Nadim, do you want to go first? Do you want to go last? Do you want to go second? Because I've got my book ready to go.
I'm rounding up the people. I'm rounding up Jim Bob,
The flow. Oh,
because Jim Bob said he's gonna try to jump on. So
that would be fantastic. I would love him to jump on. That would be very
link, and we'll see what happens. And and Wes, I'm trying to get to Wes, but I don't know. I think
I think Wes hasn't given any signs of life. So, but it would still be good to see him, to have him on. For those who are listening, like anybody can jump in. Like obviously there's a limit, but I think that you will find this discussion fruitful, and I hope that you feel that you're able to express your thoughts, because this is not going to be a debate. This is going to be more of a conversation where different people have enough time to express their viewpoints, but they cannot ramble on. Let's say there's a maximum, let's say, of 4 or 5 minutes to let's say collect your thoughts and express them, and then we can have a more open discussion. So I hope everybody feels compelled and encouraged to participate. So, do you have anything prepared, Nadim? Are you tired?
But yeah, it's 1:26 a.m. here, but we'll get through it. I think I have a class in the morning, but
Yeah, the sacrifices that we have to make.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I think it's been changing my my view on it has been changing. I think it's not like theology is more important, and like the theology part of it is the important part, and in the end, prayer is the best part, the most important one. And I saw what clergy said about it, and I think it doesn't contradict what I say. It's just that the use of the word is really important for you, but for me it's not, and for some clergy it isn't also. Like I've seen Father Peter here says there's no rights, like we don't. He's talking about in a spiritual kind of way, like we don't owe any, we don't get anything, like we out of nowhere, like we owe everything to God. So that's his perspective. But we'll get into it when we start. I don't know when we're going to start.
So John has just messaged me. He said that, oh, Roscoe, nice to meet you, buddy. Like,
Hey,
I was amazed at your let's say display of cognitive skills. You know, for such a young guy. How old are you, man?
I just turned 18 years old.
Oh, I'm with babies, my babies. No, fantastic. Like, sharpest guys. And where you
Funny thing
cradle
is,
also?
I'm not even American either. I don't even live in
Where are you
America.
from?
Are you
I'm,
Canadian?
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
Oh, you're gonna catch so much hate, man. You're gonna catch so much.
Yeah, whatever. You know,
So
my homeland is being torn apart anyways. Doesn't matter.
yeah.
You seem Orthodox just by your face, Maya. It's
I'm half Romanian, so
Ah,
half Romanian, half Anglo-Germanic. That's my admixture.
no, I was making a joke because I can see the icons behind. So
yeah. Ask. I was gonna ask actually. You do look like I wouldn't have said Romanian, but like Romanians are also kind of Slavs as well. So, but you do
Yeah,
look
they
kind
are.
of Slav. So, yeah, no, fantastic.
I
oh,
painted
is that
that. By the way.
That's Patriot Kirill.
I painted that. Yeah.
Well, glory to
Amazing.
God, man.
you have talent here? That's nice.
Yeah.
Glory to God.
Yeah. So basically, Roscoe, this conversation is going to be about rights. I don't know how much of it you have followed before. John said that he would be like joining us after he made some coffee. So I'm gonna actually start with my bit,
Who's
and
John?
and then we can riff. Everybody's gonna have enough time to express
Your
themselves.
mic is a bit weird, Ivan. I don't know what happened. Or is
I don't know what.
it echoing
I don't
from
know.
your?
Is that my
Well,
echo? Yeah. Let me see. If it's
Wait,
coming out.
try muting.
Yeah,
Talk.
yeah, it was echo. There was a lot of feedback there. So anyway,
I'll just mute when I'm not talking.
yeah, this comment by Mela is about what you were talking about, Nadim. Basically, we don't have rights to claim against God in that sense. But even if you look at the Old Testament, you can see that Moses is telling God, "Come on, please don't destroy your people, because you brought us out of Egypt for something. You're gonna be like undermining your own word. It's gonna sound a little bit crazy." And God eventually capitulates, but there are different interpretations of that. Anyway, I'm gonna just quickly share my screen because I got my thoughts written down. I used this bit for another I've used this bit for another video. So Mela, I'm sorry, you're gonna hear this argument again, but it's super short.
I watched it too. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's nothing new then. I'm gonna read it for the audience. My argument is that if God's justice is a divine energy and God's being includes our particular deified selves, like St. Maximus teaches in Ambiguum 7 of Metaphysics, I think, then God's justice is not a Platonic idea that is to be superimposed to create reality, like a conceptual duplicate of it, in the same way that Catholics and Protestants think of it, but rather God's being contains the particular expressions of justice we know in creation in the form of laws, both written and tacit, as part of the personhood and authority of political rulers. So here I'm basically using, hi John, here I'm basically using, let's say, St. Maximus as St. Gregory Palamas to explain how the energies of God participate, let's say, in our justice, in our human justice, and how our human justice also participate in the energies of God. So in that sense, God's own mind, God's own creation, God's own will for us to exist is already within God's being. So the particularities in which we, let's say, find the expressions of our justice, of our worldly justice, have an analog in God's justice. So I'm going to read this for you for a little second. So if political laws have a metaphysical reality in God, in their particular instances as part of their life in God, the fact that our particular laws recognize both duties and rights as real implies that we cannot deny the reality of rights without also denying the participation of those particular societies' laws in God. To deny the metaphysical reality of rights to linguistically subsume them into duties would deny their metaphysical reality and imply the denial of all past societies' participation in justice, since they're in their particular expressions, they have all had a concept of rights, either explicitly or implicitly, as an extension of the ruler's personhood and authority. If they used the word before to refer to their own laws, then the very fact that they were able to use those words correctly implies that God willed them to use those words, and that those words had a metaphysical, ontological reality. So rights are a delegation of both authority and power, and a natural way to understand how duties are to be fulfilled. I reject the definition of rights as entitlements absent duties linked to those rights, since no authority, power, or freedom is given without a purpose. That is not the historical definition of rights. The first right is the king's right, and all rights follow it, since the king, being a man, must delegate. Rights are not a modern invention, they are a requirement of law to fulfill duties, and without rights, duties cannot be fulfilled in the first place, since authority and power would not be lawfully available. To deny rights is to make laws arbitrary and mere violence and justification for violence. An Orthodox Christian perspective cannot presuppose that violence is the norm or a necessity for a just society, because it would imply justice is incompatible with a good created order. So justice cannot require violence. The only way out of this violence is to recognize rights as real. So basically, guys, that's my argument for why I think rights exist, because they become a metaphysical necessity. That's what I believe in. I believe that rights exist, they're not just mere words, but they exist in the mind of God. They exist in God's being. Anyway, you can each go in whichever order you want and speak your mind, and then we can discuss it.
Yeah, I think God's justice does exist. Something that's metaphysical, and that's part of God. We could call it an energy. Maybe that one of the energies of God could be His justice, and that what is just does exist. And I think that's what you're defining as rights. And I don't disagree with that. But I don't see the use of the word as something that important. If like in some cases we could go after a word and regain it as Orthodox Christians, but I don't think the word right, like the word right, has been consumed completely by the human rights or the Declaration of Human Rights definition. The very idea of enlightenment is based on human rights. So I think we lost it, and I don't think we have a need to regain it. I think we could use other words to describe the particular word you're using, and I don't think what is just and what is true in a societal perspective can exist without duties. So they're connected to each other. So like us receiving something that is dutiful for the other is something that we can take. For example, a spiritual father giving us advice is some sort that we don't need a duty, but it ontologically has a duty from the spiritual father, and you have a duty to talk to the spiritual father. So everything is related to a sort of Christian duty, and also like we don't attain any benefits, like we don't deserve any benefits from God or from any person. So even if they fulfilled their duty, we sometimes don't deserve this duty. We don't deserve God's love, but we do have it. We do obtain it sometimes. Like God loves us, so but we don't deserve it. In any case, He loves us. So even though we're sinners, but if we want to love Him, we have a duty to fulfill His commandment through the church, in our perspective, anyways. So
can you define what a right is for you?
definition of rights is the Enlightenment idea of human rights that benefit absent duty. I think Ivan's definition is different, and his definition I agree with. But I just don't use the word right because I think we lost it and we don't need to regain it. Just some in my case, like semantical points. But I think Roscoe wants to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I ask a clarification question? Because I think I'm new to this circle, so I don't know the argument necessarily. Is what you're saying a right is sort of like the synergy of divine justice and human created the human created energy of justice? Is that essentially your notion?
That's what Ivan is saying, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So it's when the prototype of divine justice ends up in synergy with the created type of
Sure, and I don't disagree with the point that there like we should follow the law in any case, but not the law that that goes against our faith, like our being able to live our faith in any case. And I don't believe that what Ivan is defining as rights can be separate from duties, because like if you go to the root of every single one of them, it is related to a duty. So he used the example of a kid has a right to be fed, for example, but he won't if his parents have a duty to feed him. So it's still related to a duty in my perspective. So I don't believe we need to say like a kid has a right to be fed. I think it's right to say that a kid it is dutiful to feed a baby. I would word it that way, and I could say also like that's in God's eyes it is what is just to feed your baby, or to care for that baby.
So obligations, basically, just like obligations.
Yes,
you're obligated.
Obligations. Yes, and in the perspective of the baby, in a physical matter, if you don't do it, he doesn't have this the right as I defined it, as because he doesn't have a benefit without this duty because someone is not fulfilling that duty. So he won't have that benefit on a physical way, but maybe that benefit is just in a godful way. It is what is just. So in the eyes of God, it is correct, but in the physical matter, it's not being fulfilled. So we don't need to call it a right, in my perspective. Just call it what is just.
So before John can jump in, I wanted to take this opportunity to like clarify something, which is there is this criticism against rights that some people make, but they don't completely follow through, which is if someone can take away your right, then you don't have a right, right? And this is what Nadim was basically describing when he said, well, what happens with people who don't, like a kid that doesn't receive food, right? He has a right, an entitlement to be fed, yet nobody is fulfilling that duty, right? Now, not only does this case imply counterfactuals because like people aren't born from cabbages in the middle of the like in the middle of the forest, but we are born always within a society. So this idea that, for example, even with Jim Bob, he presented an argument where let's say you could have a society or something that is previous to a society from his perspective, in the forest, whatever, something. He gave an example like that, and I would say no, that's actually counterfactual. Human beings are always connected to other human beings, and they are humanized by those human beings. Every child is born of parents, and parents are part of society, and a family is a small society. So
if a child is just thrown away in the forest from their parents, then there is no human link, and that right wouldn't be fulfilled in a physical matter. But
yes.
but what is beautiful is still true in God's eyes. That's what
Yeah.
I'm
So
I'm
so
I'm
the
relating to. I'm going on your like I'm leveling with you, but I'm not. I still don't call it a right. I don't see the need for it if the word is already lost. My argument is against the word itself because we got that clear in what the first.
okay. So we agree, Nadim, that there is something that has an ontological reality that I'm calling right, which is basically a form of, let's say, mutual obligation that we have. You call it duty, but when we speak about, for example, uh, what is just for someone, we can call it their cause, like the cause of the infant to be fed, the right of the infant to be fed. And people tend to say that a right is not real if the law is not perfect. Okay, so you agree that the metaphysical reality of something like a right exists, but you see no need for there to be a word that has a, let's say, analog within our human society, like the word right, which it predated Christ's incarnation. The ancient Romans used the word rights. uh, why would there be a problem with using a word? Why, if that word exists even in law codes from before the time of Christ, why wouldn't we reject
Well,
that?
well, that would be a because you would fall into word concept fallacies all the time because
But
the
they are
word
the same definition of rights that I have.
no. No, the definition that's being used is not the same thing as what is just from God. That's not what is being used, and that's
But
not
pagans had the same concept.
what.
Pagan kings had the same concept, because if you
No, no, I'm
understand,
not saying pagan kings. I'm saying now the Enlightenment idea of rights. The definition of it isn't that at all. It's something that it's basically a benefit that you ontologically have in like natural theology that cannot be taken away. That's the idea.
so
But
so
but
why shouldn't I
in a
show?
physical matter. So
Well, but
that's why we like I'm staying to the fact, and you're staying to the fact like we're kind of really into the point of the word has been lost to this idea. It has been lost. Okay, you like we have to agree on that. It has been changed completely, and it's used that way. Like I think you're the
but
only one that use it differently.
no, 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 Nadim. First of all,
Oh,
I think that strategy, beyond an argument that we could
no,
make
but
about.
still, I'm saying it's not that important of a word. It's not like a doctrine.
No, that's a claim you're making. That's an ad hoc claim you're making. You're saying it's not important. I would
The
argue, yes, it is important. Not only do I argue, it
word
is
itself, the word
yes,
itself. Why is the
yes.
word itself important?
Politically speaking, I think it's important to retake it. Also, there's been, I don't know how much you know about how, let's say, politics is done in the terms of, in like cultural warfare is done, but words themselves are very important. You have to, let's say, be very mindful of how you use words, because it is through words that, for example, a lot of the wokeness infiltrated the West. So the fact that people have fought over words shows that the words that we use is important. Why are we capitulating to people who have a different metaphysical understanding? Would you stop using the word mind that the fathers use simply because the West misunderstands mind? Would you stop using the word intellect as an Orthodox person because a person in the West thinks that intellect is rationality? You can go ahead, Roscoe.
Yeah, I think the argument is akin to this. The word balkanized was abandoned by leftists and replaced with the word diversity because it sounds nice, right? I think the argument is essentially right. The word right has been tainted by the Enlightenment on such a deeply cultural level that that basic misunderstanding cannot be erased from the mind of the Western man. And so maybe what we should be doing instead is calling these things by synonymous terms that in the mind of the average person would link up to the concept that you're describing. For example, you could replace the word with duty, obligation, things of that nature, right? And that rings a certain bell in the average person's mind. What you're sort of thinking of is appealing to a very small minority of people who pay attention to philosophy. Not many people actually pay attention to philosophy. It's why it's important to use words that are accessible and understandable to like the broader demographics. And so when you say, oh, let's use right in this sense and define it in such an esoteric way that most people won't even understand, I think it's better if you just ditch that and use a term that that the people will resonate with.
Well, by that argument, then we should like dispense with all theology, because
No.
theology is very difficult for people to understand.
No,
So
no. You could keep, okay, I could grant you that you could keep the word.
Well, the thing
right
about
in
theology, the thing about Orthodox theology is that it is so esoteric already, right? So the people with correct theology, they're gonna be like a handful, right? It's not gonna be the masses. So you don't dispense with those terminologies within the small Orthodox circles that you have because it's already esoteric. What you're
Exactly,
you
wouldn't
to the broad
I never
masses,
use
which is
essence
not a
energy
matter of
distinction.
esoteric philosophical definitions.
Yeah, I never used I never used apophatic theology or those certain words while talking to my Orthodox parish. I never use those words. So why would I I could grant you that you could keep the word right in a theological sense. You could keep it and use it as it was used in the traditional sense, maybe the pagans at the time, or etc. But as a practical way or as a practical sense, it would lead people into misunderstanding it, and it's maybe better to use a different word in a practical sense. But I could grant you that the word right in itself could be used in its ancient, most true way, but it's not I don't think it's the best thing to do in a practical sense, especially in the way the word right is dominated
What?
in our societies today. Not even Western, but even Eastern societies use the word right in the Western sense. So and Orthodox societies do, and I don't think, and they are using it in this definition. So
Okay,
so
Nadina,
it's
I want
better
John
to
to jump in.
change the word itself, because I don't want sorry.
I want John to jump in and to be able to at least express his opinion if rights exist, if they don't, how so, if they're God given, how God given, those kinds of things.
I don't think that rights are God given per se, but I do think that God has given us the ability to have rights, if that makes any sense. Like we have the ability, and I don't even know, like, when you say like this ancient term of rights, like what ancient term of rights would you guys be referring to?
Well, for example, you've got a lot of jurists talking about how kings give rights,
Like Jews?
and
You got a bunch
kings
of Jews. Sorry, I thought you said you have a bunch of Jews saying kings
No.
have. Oh, okay.
jurists.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Jurists. So yeah, the pagan conception of monarchy is that the king is either an expression of deity, like for example the pharaoh, that the king is a high priest, or that the king is, let's say, an emissary or a son of God, or partially God, somewhat related to the divine, and he's let's say an image of the divine. So even within pagan monarchy, there's a sense in which, let's say, the king is not simply a person with worldly power, but rather he images, let's say, a celestial reality, and in that sense, from him comes all of the order within society, and the order within society is below as it is above. Like the phrase "as above, so below." Like the purpose of the king is to order let's say, the political reality according to a divine reality. And within that conception of ordering society in that manner, the king grants rights in order for people to fulfill their duties. So, for example, I'm a king. I'm technically the owner of everything because I'm a god. But I grant you, John, I grant you land that you will use however you see fit, as long as you obey the authority that was vested in you through the right that I gave you to the land. So even if you look at feudalism, in feudalism, you have kings that recognized the rights of certain landlords to hold the land. The idea is that the king is granting them the land so that they can use the land to further the king's identity, right? So from the king comes identity, comes meaning, comes order, and he, from his own personhood, he grants those, let's say, special privileges to others for them to act on his behalf. So he's granting those underlings the possibility to act on his name, in the same way that we Christians believe that as we are deified, so are we acting in God's name, right? So in a sense, my conception of rights is that the granting of this authority is a granting of rights, that the granting of it, and as an Orthodox person, I would even go so far as to say that Christ says that apostolic succession, for example, is a form of rights, because let's say the bishops have the keys and the power and the authority to bind and loose on earth as they will be bound and loose in heaven. So that's my conception of rights, and that's why it's very important for me to ground them in a metaphysical reality. So they're not just words that we use to express something that can be simply subsumed into duties, but rather, if we're going to speak about, let's say, how duties are effectively carried forward, they require that initial granting, because if not, there wouldn't be any way for you to fulfill your duty. And it would be even worse than slavery, because even a slave is fed. The slave gives you work, but in return, he is fed so that he can keep working. Your slave is entitled to food. It's right for the slave to be fed. Now, if I tell you that you have no rights, but you still have to obey me, I'm an absolute tyrant who thinks that they're entitled to everything about you, but you're not entitled to anything from me. And this, although could be expressed as a relationship between man and God, because God needs nothing from us and he gives us everything, and we cannot ever repay him, this does not translate to a worldly king, because from our Christian perspective, a worldly king would never be able to take the place of God, either because he would be an idol, right? So if I'm against absolute monarchy, and absolute monarchy is the only system in which there are no rights.
Okay, so, Ivan, let me level with you and give you a statement that you might like. Okay, so duties are when given or when fulfilled towards another person. Let's keep on the point of a monarch, for example, a God-fearing monarch. So when a duty is given to this monarch, the monarch then has a duty towards the people. So it's duty to duty. Okay, and you're saying that the reception of a duty after you have fulfilled this duty is the right. But what I'm saying, so let me repeat. So the reception of a duty being fulfilled by the monarch is your right. Is that what you're saying?
No, so what I'm saying is that for the monarch to be able to fulfill his duty, he must have a right to rule. So the right for the monarch to rule
I'm saying in this specific case, is that a good example of a right that the monarch fulfilling his duty to the people, then the people receiving that duty, is the reception a right in your case?
Well, I would say that, as I believe rights to exist within a hierarchy, they start from God and they are mediated by the monarch. So if the monarch grants
I
you a
understand
right,
that, I agree with that, but
let
I'm
me
saying,
finish.
I think in granting that right that's a duty to grant that right.
Insofar as the monarch doesn't undermine God in granting rights, the monarch is the person to be granting rights. So if a king tells you, you are the one to, let's say,
Isn't it
own the
God's Isn't it a God-given duty for the monarch to grant, for example, land ownership?
yes, but he doesn't own the land without the right to the land. How can he give the land
I'm
without
just
the right?
seeking a definition. I'm not.
I
I'm not
think
arguing.
what he's trying to describe is a right is a form of political legitimacy that is justified by a higher authority, so that the person who is acting with these so-called rights has the autonomy to act on behalf of this so-called divine figure as an autonomous political entity. I think that's essentially how he's describing it.
Sure, I don't mind this description, but I'm keen on the word right because it could be described in another way, and in just that it is something that is allowed by God, and therefore, like for example, the presence of the monarch as a God-given ruler for a nation. We're talking especially in an Orthodox, but it does apply, and I agree with that it does apply in a non-Orthodox monarchy because we have a duty as people to follow said laws because in some aspect it is God-given. Maybe it is not the good in itself, like the laws, all of them are not good, but they're good for us in that certain period of time. So that's what we were arguing in the last video. But I wouldn't use the word right because I don't think it's practical to use at all, especially in our modern era. But I don't think we disagree in any case. I could grant you that theologically the word right could be used, but I don't think it should be used in a practical way at all. I think it should be changed or just described as the definition because it would kind of make people fall into the false definition of what is due by God rather than right being something that is some BS enlightenment thing that is basically the universal definition.
Well, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't even go so far as to claim that it was merely the Enlightenment, the one who gave us the reason.
No, I'm not saying the one who gave us, but I'm saying the one that is defined. You're twisting my.
Let me finish, Nadim. You don't even know what I was going to say. I was going to say that the fact that Protestants have an issue, let's say, with kingship. Yeah, I know, John. You can fight back if you want, but like the fact that Protestants have issues, let's say, with institutions of authority, the fact that Protestants are the ones who are the first to, let's say, denounce the possibility of authorities being corrupt, shouldn't make us Orthodox, who are supposed to not have those kinds of things, fall into the rationalism that emerged from that. If people are rationalists, why should I care if they're rationalists? Why should I mold the way that I speak in a way that presumes, like the fathers didn't, even though they tried to condescend in their language, the fathers didn't stop using the word logos simply because people would associate it with Greek philosophy. And I've seen a lot of those issues creep up as I was studying theology. Like as I became Orthodox, I was dealing with a lot of concepts that constantly fell into a form of, let's say, word concept fallacy. And you're saying, no, but in order to avoid the word concept fallacy, because these people are rationalists, we cannot use this word because they are rationalists and they're going to interpret that word negatively. And I say to you, the problem is that the rationalists is not the problem is not the word. The problem is that the way they're interpreting the word is wrong. And that's what we need to change. So if using a different word would help change, sure. But what I see is that the problem is the way in which it's interpreted. And that rationalism is what I think needs to be addressed. Because unfortunately, the very same argument that says, I'm not saying that you said this, Nadim, but the very same argument that says, like, rights don't exist because a powerful person can take them away from you, that is a already rationalistic conception of rights that makes rights impossible. So ironically, by trying to like help people who don't know understand better, by doing that move, you're furthering the problem. I see the problem with saying that we cannot use the word rights because people are going to expect a wrongful interpretation is just ceding too much ground that is actually necessary for us. Because you can say, well, we can use the word duty, but okay, the king has a duty, but where is his authority? You can say he's a king, but I can tell you what makes him a king. Oh, because he has the God-given duty. Okay, he has the duty, but does he have the right? Why wouldn't I? Because a duty without a right is meaningless. If you don't have the authority vested in you, like it's just a worldly claim. Like we can play that game with all words. Like if you say, well, I have a duty to help my brother. Sure, we have the duty to help everyone, but I don't have the same duty to help a Somalian person that I do not know, while ignoring the homeless person that is a block away from me. It's not the same kind of duty. So there must be an embodied aspect in which, because I have rights, I have duties. So it's not that I simply have duties. I have rights.
You could call the monarch being having this the rule as a God-given gift rather than duty. No, I don't think. Like I wasn't. Like the point isn't that he has a God-given duty. He has a God-given gift of being able to fulfill that duty, and he has a duty to be a just ruler according to God's statutes and God's rights, like in the way you're describing it. But I wouldn't say rights. That's just the point I'm trying to make. But who was it that was in the Discord? Father John Strickland, is it? Ivan, was it? Yeah.
No. Father John Strickland is the historian. You mean the one that was on the Orthodox Discord?
Yeah, who was it?
Let me remember. It was, well, it will come back to me. It doesn't matter. Go on.
Anyways, he was saying that by God saying "Thou shall not steal," it is kind of giving a right for us to not, like, giving us the right for us to not being stolen from.
Yeah, private property.
Yeah, so like private, like the right of private property.
But wouldn't that just destroy everything, though? I mean, if you have private property, I mean, you don't have a duty to private property, do you?
No. I'm just giving out the argument. I'm not. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
I
saying
think
I disagree, but I just like I could say the same word, and that it is just for us to not be stolen from, because that private duty could physically be taken away from us. Maybe in the God given thing, if it's stolen away from us, it is not their. It doesn't become their private property. It still is the private property, our private property. Is that what you're saying? That if someone took away this bottle from me, it's still mine, but it's just in the hands of another person.
Yeah, but would you have the right to that bottle?
I'm asking if Ivan
No,
is that.
no, I'm saying no because John's argument was actually different. Like John's basically saying, if God gives you the commandment, if God gives you the duty not to steal, doesn't that imply that the person has a right to not be stolen from?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. That
Yeah,
I relate the argument back.
yeah, but
I'm not trying to be malicious. Exact. That's it.
no,
That's
no,
why
no,
I'm giving
no, no, I don't think
both
at all. But
both cases.
I don't think that at all. But I'm just saying, it's like it would make no sense. Like if I have the duty not to steal from my neighbor,
Yeah,
or
but my
does
point.
that? But hold on. Okay.
Hold on, Nadim, I'm gonna start muting you,
Yeah,
bro.
bend over, boy.
Well, okay,
but,
now he deserves to be.
but if I have the duty not to steal from my neighbor or anything like that, or steal their private property, I don't have a duty to private property. I don't have a duty to a water bottle. I mean, I can go and dip my hands in a toilet bowl and drink the water. But I do have the right to have a water bottle, and I would have the right to dig a well in my backyard, wouldn't I?
So listen, I wasn't saying that you have a duty to private
but-
property.
but-
I wasn't even given that. No, I wasn't even. I was
I know,
giving
Right.
but the
your
point
guys'
that I'm
point.
trying to, the
I
point
was
that I'm
giving.
trying to
I was
get at
giving
is like
your
this
point.
whole
Let
rights
me.
thing now is gone.
No, yeah, but let me relay my point, please, because that like you didn't let me. You got me off when I just gave the point of Father. I forgot his name, and
Flanagan.
you're starting to argue with me. I was just giving out the point and then giving my perspective.
I wasn't
on
trying
it.
to argue. These are just questions that I have. Because, like, I mean, like,
Yeah, sure.
I'm kind of torn between both sides here.
So okay, the thing is that my point is whatever you want to do, either like in my case is just stop using the word or change the definition, which is even is that rights. John Whiteford. That okay. That's okay. Rights shouldn't be called entitlements. That's what Ivan is saying. So a right isn't an entitlement. It is what is right for you, or what is just, because it's not. It wouldn't be an entitlement if physically it could be taken away in some way. The
It is-
physical matter, because your private property could be taken away. Like even if you have a right to it, like it could be taken. The private the it could be taken away, not the right. Okay, like not the ontological thing that you're talking about, Ivan, could not be taken away because it's something ontological related to God Himself.
Yeah,
It
I'm gonna,
couldn't-
I'm gonna address that, Nadim. But first, let's
Finish my point.
allow Roscoe to speak because he's waiting patiently.
Yeah, I think an
But I
important
didn't finish my
distinction.
point. Let me
I think
finish
an
my
important
point.
distinction that maybe should be made first is the distinction between positive and negative rights. Because when talking about the commandment to not steal, that's a right as duty, but it's not necessarily saying you have a right to property or you have a duty to property as in right, right? It's saying right as in duty, right? It's not a negative affirmation, it's a positive affirmation that you shall not do this, not that you shall have this, right? And so that might be important because this other guy was saying, well, thou shalt not steal, as in, you should have property, right? I don't think that's the correct context. It's just saying that you have a duty to not steal, as in like a positive affirmation, not necessarily like the negation of I have a right to not be stolen from.
But
yeah, the logical.
If you're no, I'll give you your perspective, because I now I understand what you're saying. It would be right. It would be just that you wouldn't be stolen from, right, Roscoe? Like if someone stole from you, it wouldn't be a just thing for you. Like in the eyes of God, what happened to you wouldn't be just.
I
Like,
think,
you
I
felt
think so, but I think
injustice.
that's affirmed in the positive. I think that I
You've
have
experienced
legitimacy over
injustice.
my property because God has given me the legitimacy to have that stuff.
Sure. So, like, what I was relating to is that right wouldn't exist without the duty of not stealing. So that's
Right.
what I was trying to relate to. So no rights exist without duty. But like, I'm not saying they don't exist at all, but they couldn't exist without a duty, because they're ontologically related in that definition that you're giving. Because there could not be an idea of having private property if there is no duty of not taking that private property away. So I give my statement flat that rights do not exist without duty, not that
Well, what-
rights full stop.
Well, but duties cannot exist without rights as well.
Well, it's impossible for both to exist without each other, because duty gets rights, and then a right wouldn't exist without a duty. Like a duty, it presupposes something that is like something that is just in the eyes of God. But I'm not like I'm granting you the word right, but I still wouldn't use the word right. But
Yeah.
granting it, you understand. I have the same idea. Just the word is
Okay, two things that I wanted to add to this conversation. One is that you said that the right cannot be an entitlement because an entitlement can be taken away. Now, what if I told you that it would be perfectly reasonable to say that a right is an entitlement if you understand the entitlement not in just a physical way, but as the right itself?
I still wouldn't think we have any entitlement from any person at all. Like we're not entitled to anything. We don't even own our own bodies. So like I don't even hold to that.
God gives us our bodies.
We will to use our bodies, but we the ownership is to God. Like the body, our ownership is bodies are owned by God. They're not like, if you can't do with your body whatever you choose, like you have a duty to
but you can do whatever you want to do with your body, though.
No, you have free will to do it.
Yeah.
But that's you're infringing on God's right to your body.
So rights are real, right?
Yeah. So I'm using your word. Yeah.
So like, and this is like.
But in this definition, that's why I'm.
But
really,
in this definition,
like
must be the definition.
Saying, no, listen, John. Let me finish. I granted like half an hour ago. I granted to Ivan that the word right could be used in theological understanding, but I don't think it's a practical word to use in the modern context. That's the only argument I'm saying. We did a whole video on that, and we got to a conclusion. So like the whole point of this panel was to get Wes on, because he doesn't have this side. So we're doing this for no reason. We already had the full talk on that. So I'm not gonna.
I think it's fair to. I think it's fair to talk about these things. What I do think is that, like the argument that people like Jimbo present, is that rights don't exist because they're conceptually redundant, right? And that's a bad metaphysical argument. Like if I said that justice and love, let's say, uh, are redundant because like love is just, that doesn't mean that justice does not exist, and that justice doesn't have a particular way in which it's instantiated, and that we don't say that the different attributes of God are all the same. That's Western theology. That's not Eastern theology. So
Yeah, sorry, I got an idea. I don't want to lose it. The It's actually illogical to say rights don't exist because God has every right. So that, like, if you think about, even in the modern conception of right, God has it because he's entitled to everything. So you could say God, like in the idea that they're saying, which is logical in the physical matter, that we don't have any rights, any entitlement without duty. But God does have that in himself. Like he has no duty to anything. If you think about it.
exactly. Now,
So in
what
that case, I would agree with the rights being used only if they're accorded to God. Like God
why?
has every single right, but he he permits the kind of transactional use of those kind of different way, like what is just to you, in the transaction of duties, um, in a very transactional way, in a very transactional and metaphysical way, through his king, his hierarchy, and trample
Yeah.
down to the smallest peasant.
Now, I think that there's a political motivation.
Oh, and you have a right to repent. That I could say, like you have a right to repent because, or is it, or no. I wouldn't say that. I would say you have the free will to repent. No, I'm trying to grant you right in certain ways, but I still can't. I'll just I'll grant it fully to giving it to God, like that's
I
yeah,
would say,
and
Nadim,
yeah, to repent.
I would say that fundamentally the problem of giving rights to God but not giving them to man stems from a, let's say, political perspective that is afraid of granting rights because it fears revolution. But how can you participate in God if God didn't give you free will as a right?
No, free will is a gift. It's not a right. It's something that has been given us through the love of God. It's not
Do
something.
you
It's
think?
not.
Do you think? Why use the word gift and not right? Is it not just to have free will?
Well, because free will could never be physically taken away.
God could take your free will if He wanted to. Are you saying
Yes,
that
yes.
God is unable?
No. I'm saying in the like no man could take it away. So, like a man could throw his baby in a forest.
Hmm. Okay,
Can't.
I see your point. Is a God-given gift because it doesn't stem from a monarch, right? Meaning, no monarch has the authority nor the power to deny your free will, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because
Again,
we're not entitled free will. So like it's not nothing. We're not entitled to a thing, even from another human being. We're not entitled to the monarch's love or to the monarch's duty to give us. Like, we're not entitled to a thing.
then there is no justice.
We're all
Then
sinners. No, we don't even entitled justice. We're sinners, and we don't even deserve God's love. It's just that we're gifted God's love. We're allowed to be able to experiment theosis, but we're not entitled to a thing. Like that's like especially from God. We're not like we're sinners.
So we have no
we-
private property. So we have no
What?
private property. So private property does not exist.
If you think about it in a metaphysical way, we don't own a thing other than like we only like just think about it in a spiritual way.
I'm thinking about it in a spiritual way. And what I'm saying is that, for example, that pet that you had when you were a child that is already dead, perhaps, and the love that you had for that pet exists within God. So, how am I not looking at it from a spiritual perspective if I'm saying that within the being of God, in God's energy, was the particular love that you had for your pet? I'm in fact, I would say you're not looking at it like if I were to make the argument.
No,
you're
I'm
looking at it.
asking on a very specific spiritual way. Like, do we have like, are we entitled to those rights, or are they just a gift from God? Because we don't deserve them. Yeah, do you think we deserve the rights? Do you think we deserve rights, or do you think it's just a gift from God? Because we're sinners. We don't deserve a thing from God. God deserves everything from us.
I would
Let
agree
me
with
think
that,
about
but-
it some more.
I would agree with that, but do we not have like just because we don't deserve rights or we don't deserve anything from God, does that
Yeah, I'm saying no. I'm granting. Imagine there is rights. Okay, like I'm granting there is rights. Okay, do we deserve them?
well no
We have.
but
Yes and no.
but
No, we don't deserve them. Even if
We
God
don't
granted them.
do them from God, but we do from our leaders.
No, we don't deserve anything from anyone else. We and especially as Orthodox Christians, we have the desire, like we think we only deserve to give that
Then
love
justice
away.
does not exist. Then justice
What?
does not exist.
Yes,
Then
it does
it-
exist in God Himself. Yes, it does.
No,
It does
it's,
exist.
it's no. But that's Gnostic, Nadim. You cannot say justice exists in God. No.
No, not in God
Justice exists
Himself.
in God and on earth.
Yes, on earth through God. Yes. But in God Himself on earth, yes. But I'm not saying. But I'm saying that a human could not like behold the full justice of God. That's like that's also that's Gnostic. We don't all have like good. We're not all gods that have the ability to give justice away.
But why do you need to be able to behold all of God's justice? If you believe in saints, then the
I'm not
saints.
saying you need. I'm not. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I say like the rights, like we don't deserve. We don't deserve justice. Even justice, we don't deserve. Even we don't like justice exists because God loves us, but we don't deserve it.
But no. You're not following. Why are you replacing the king with God? Because from God comes
Even from the king,
I'm gonna mute you. Let me finish. I'm saying if God gives you the gift of rights and he does so through the monarch owes you those rights. I'm not saying God owes you anything. I'm saying the monarch does. So why are you
even
saying,
if he owes it, he doesn't have like he could not give them away. Like he could
no,
not.
he would be violating his own legitimacy. He would be undermining himself. And that's a
He could undermine himself. Like it's is that not possible for him to undermine himself?
well, then he has the right to let's say make that decision. you're saying
Sure,
he's
but then
entitled.
he has a right to not give a right. Then it's a circular argument. Then he has a right to not give rights away. Then we don't have rights.
No, you have right because he has the right to not give rights.
No, when he decides not to.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish my argument because the problem with these kinds of conversations is that they become rationalistic very fast, and you don't see how you're making an argument for a society that does not exist. When I say, for example, a king has a right to not give you a right. When you say a king has a right to not give you a right, I can ask you a very practical question, which is, which king do you believe has a right to not give you any right? And you cannot point to any single one, because any single king that would presume to not give any right, not only would not be legitimate, but he would stop being a king like this. Why? Because the possibility to make certain decisions requires let's say the practicality of those decisions, not the theory. You can say, well, in theory the king can deny you every right. No, that's even wrong in theory, because it's never possible in practice. So why are we
But you said, Ivan, you said he has the right not to give the right to. I didn't say that.
No, I was using that as a, let's say, as a prop to then turn it down.
Oh, you said it as a straight statement that he has the
No.
right to not give the right.
No, but he doesn't. He doesn't,
You
because he
gave
would be
me-
undermining himself.
that was the no. You like just say you mistake. You mistakenly said that
No.
because you're saying it as a straight.
I'm telling you, it's that example is impossible. It's Gnostic. We cannot see any example of that
You
in
gave
reality.
the example, not me.
No, but I'm telling you that that's the example that you're given when you're saying that kings can deny every single right.
No, I didn't say
cannot.
that. You said that. Are you
Okay,
like,
well,
you're not reading the paper?
moving on. My point is you cannot, let's say, give the right of a king to be you cannot make it absolute, and the rationalism makes things absolute, because everything has, let's say, a rule and an exception.
Well, I think a king does not have the right to not give rights, to not give rights away. I think he has a duty to fulfill a God-given justice to the people. Okay, he has a duty, and then in some way, we could be
How can you
entitled.
fulfill that duty?
We could be no. Listen. I'm giving you like a better argument than you were giving for your own perspective. In that case, like that justice, if a monarch is to be just, okay, that justice that he's giving away to the people could be considered an entitlement. But my point was more of the spiritual way. Even if we have this entitlement or this right, we do not deserve it. We don't deserve it from the monarch or from God or from anyone. That's like we might have it by God's love or God's charity or God's gift. We could say that it's a gift. The monarch's justice is a gift rather than
Yeah.
right. We could.
But okay, fair, Nadim. I take that spiritual point and I even agree with it. Now, when what I'm talking about is that human beings are always within societies. All societies have structure. All structure requires duties and rights. So if you tell me that you don't have a right because all is God given, you're saying, well, but basically the king has no duty to give.
I would say duties and justice. I wouldn't say right. So every society works with duties and justice without like with synergy in each other, because there is.
I cannot hear you, Nadim. Like we've lost the feed. But how can we have anything to offer?
Yeah.
How can we have anything to offer if we don't know anything? If we don't have anything, if nothing is ours?
When did what do you mean nothing is ours?
If we have no rights, then nothing is ours, and we have nothing to offer.
No, I didn't say we have no rights. I say we attain some gifts through justice. I'm not saying we have no rights in your idea. I'm saying we attain stuff. We attain a gift from our monarchs or our leader. Even we attain gifts from our democratic leaders of being able to do certain stuff that are just in the eyes of law of God. And
Can they
and
not
this,
give us those gifts? Can kings not give us gifts?
no, because if they don't give us any gift, then then he'll just fall in a second.
Then we have
they'll,
entitlement. If the kings cannot not give us gifts, then we're
I'm not
entitled to it.
arguing. No, I'm not arguing but that we don't have a sort of connection to this gift, like to this monarch through this gift. But this gift comes with duty. Like you need to fulfill some sort of duty. Like if you're a criminal, for example, in a monarchical way, you don't obtain that gift anymore. You're because you're not fulfilling the duty to be a law-abiding citizen of this place. So you need to fulfill a sort of duty to obtain that gift, like to obtain that entitlement. So we're not entitled to a thing because we
Should
need
a father is a father allowed to kill their children? Should a
No.
father then a father has a duty to allow their children to live. Now, do those
Yes,
children
yes,
have a
I'm
duty?
talking in yeah, okay, so family sorry, my computer lagged a bit. So a family is a different kind of thing. I'm talking in a society regarding your leader. There's a duty in every sense. Even in a family, you have a duty to your father. Even
Nadim, we lost you, unfortunately. So, John, do you have any?
even if you don't, sorry. So you have a duty to your father as a kid. Even
Do
if-
babies have duties to obey their parents?
No. Okay, so duty. Okay, no. Okay, so sure, but they wouldn't obtain that gift without a duty. That's what I messed up my argument. Sorry. So they wouldn't obtain that gift without the duty from the father. That's what I meant, not the other way around. Sorry.
And how can the father give that gift if he doesn't have that gift to give?
Then he's not fulfilling his duty.
Yeah, but what allows the father to give that? I could try to. This
In
is
what case? In
theoretical.
what scenario? In what case?
What scenario? For example,
No, I mean, in what case? Physical or like I didn't understand.
both. I'm talking always about both. It's like if a person has a, let's say, a right to, if a person doesn't have a right to get married, then what family are we talking about? They're having children out of wedlock. So, like,
Yeah, then do they have the right to have children out of wedlock?
no, they don't have the right.
But
They
they
don't have
didn't.
the right because the king has not given them the right. Like, if the king doesn't allow,
But they didn't though.
no, I'm talking about like babies cannot offer any duty. Okay, so if babies are given a gift because you don't want to call it a right, but I say it's a right, because the father is forced to give that gift whether he wants to or not, because once he has the kid, like
Yeah.
what I'm asking you is like,
I have a joke with. It
go
might
ahead,
be
go
true.
ahead.
The baby has a duty to make the father feel like he has to have a duty to give them. So if the baby is not cute enough, then he's not fulfilling his duty to.
It's like an Asian baby, like ugh.
An Indian baby. Ugh.
Or the baby has a duty to be completely related, like blood related to the father, like not his false baby. Like then the father doesn't have any duty to someone that isn't his baby, so he wouldn't be his baby. But that's the joke where like went too far. It's not funny anymore.
Okay. I was basically asking like, why wouldn't parents have a right to have children? And I don't mean this in the sense of like the state guaranteeing you fertility. What I'm saying is, the state allowing you to get married, and then allowing you to get married, let's say, legitimizing that it is correct for you in the eyes of the state and of God to form a family. So like all of these gifts that we talk about when we're talking about people, if you cannot deny them, they're rights. And you can say, well, a king might try to outlaw these things. And my reply would be, if society falls by you trying to outlaw these things, then it's clear that these things are rights that are given by God.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm arguing that in a societal way, they could be infringed upon. Like those rights could be in those
Okay.
gifts could be in, and that's why I'm staying on the word gift, because if a baby dies, for example, he had the gift to be able to live. It's just that the other people, like, they didn't take it away, the gift of life. Okay,
I understand, but I ask you, why would that negate you having a right? If like, if I'm telling you that the right exists metaphysically, if you, I'm telling you, you have a right
I
that
don't
is given.
undermine that. I don't undermine that.
Let
I'm
me You have a right given by God. Okay, the king recognizes that you have a right, and God wants you to have a right. Now somebody comes and takes away the physical manifestation of that right. Okay, the physical entitlement. Does that mean that the metaphysical entitlement stops existing? No, then you still have
No,
that
but
right.
the
You still have
metaphysical, yes, the metaphysical one, but not the physical one. You don't have it
Yeah.
anymore because you lost it. Okay, can we agreed? Okay,
Yeah.
the physical one has no value compared to the metaphysical one. It doesn't exist. It doesn't.
No,
It does
no.
exist. It does exist in certain cases when a monarch gives it away, but the metaphysical one still exists because
No, Nadim.
yeah,
No,
no,
because
yes,
now you're saying,
that's the
because
logic.
now no, because you're denying. Like, if a king grants me a piece of paper that says you own this land, and I don't know, a foreign invader steals the land, and I still have the piece of paper, that right still exists, even physically, in the form of a piece of paper that the king
No,
wrote.
because you can't access that land. It's just a piece of paper. It's useless.
But the piece of paper is not arbitrary.
The only important thing is the metaphysical
So the
one.
piece
It's
of
not.
paper does not exist. So the piece of paper does not
It's
exist.
useless. It's useless. Yeah, the piece of paper is useless because someone is using the power given to you on that paper. You can't use that power anymore. You can't
No,
use
that's
that power on paper because someone is on the land. That's
but the
so.
paper is legitimate.
It could be legitimate, but you're still not on the land. Like you still don't have.
Legitimately, I do.
No, you don't, because there's someone in it, so you can't even access it. Okay, you can say, "Oh, legitimately, I have it, I own it," but it's useless because you won't even have it physically.
No,
Physically, you own it. That's my point. Metaphysically, you do still own it, but you physically you don't. Okay, so yeah, the metaphysical right exists. The physical don't.
Well, but wait. Are you saying that the paper is metaphysical? The piece of paper that it's written on
No.
is metaphysical?
No, the
Are you
piece of
saying
paper.
that my relationship is with the other person is with the king? My relationship, my personal relationship with the king is only metaphysical.
No, the
So we're
physical.
not-
No, the physical. Listen, the physical is just an announcement that you have a metaphysical right to it. So you don't.
No,
Yes, it's just because like if the paper. So if the paper is ripped off, do you not own it anymore?
I don't understand the question.
If the paper is ripped away, if they came, the people, they stole your house and they ripped up your paper, you don't, or they burned it. Okay,
Mhm.
do you not own the house anymore?
I'd say I still own the house, but like nobody. That's a Gnostic argument because even if
No,
you
no,
rip a piece of paper, even if you rip a piece of paper, the
use
piece of paper is the same thing.
What?
Even if you rip the piece of paper, you destroy it, you burn it up, it's still made of matter. Like the fact that that matter like was used in that way is to me important. So that's why let's forget about the piece of paper.
Yeah, but
Imagine
then after you won't have you won't
let me finish.
you
Let's forget about a society with nobody writes in the society. This is a pre-literate society. We have a king. Nobody of us can write or read.
I can't
Whatever.
argue with that
Let
because you
let
wouldn't
me
argue
finish.
with the forest. You wouldn't argue with the forest being a society.
No,
Like with
I'm not talking about the forest. I'm talking about people have had kingdoms before they knew how to write. Now, the king and I, we have a personal relationship. The laws that he gives, the word of mouth, he speaks his laws into existence. Their laws are embodied in our personal relationship. Now, if the king tells me you own that land and somebody comes and takes away that land from me, the fact that I still have a personal relationship with that king that legitimizes the ownership that I have legitimately of that land still exists, and it's not just a metaphysical reality, but it's also a physical embodied reality. And you can say, well, it's not understandable on
But
materialistic.
if you don't have access to the house, I'm claiming that you still
The
own.
king still remembers.
Listen, I'm claiming you still own the house because the king told you. But I'm saying it's just a metaphysical right. It's not a physical one. It's just metaphysical.
So the king has thoughts, but they're not in his body.
You talked about the metaphysical right that was given to you, not about the physical one. So because physically your house could be taken away.
So the king doesn't have a body then.
What? No, that doesn't deny the fact that the right given that he's referring to the physically to a metaphysical right. So
Are we incarnate or not? That's the question that I'm still like wondering.
no, that doesn't deny my argument. I'm saying that the incarnate the incarnate humans are relaying physically a metaphysical right. So it's just that you're talking about the metaphysical one in a physical way. It's not doesn't mean that the right is physical. It just says that the metaphysical right is present in a physical way. You're just expressing it in a physical way, but it doesn't say that the right is a physical thing. It's just a metaphysical one, and and the fact that the reason why it's not a physical thing, because it's in the physical world or matter, the matter could be taken away, even if your metaphysical right still exists on that land. So I still own this house, but someone is living in it. So physically, I don't own it. I don't live in it. Like my physical bodies aren't there, but my metaphysical right is that I own this house. Okay. Like, or
Okay,
gift.
I disagree. I disagree, but okay, I think we reached a very interesting point because I think we found the place of our disagreement. Because I take the position that the king's reality, the king's embodied reality, and the fact that I see laws as not possibly purely metaphysical means that in the person of the king, in the wholeness of what the king is, spirit, soul, and body, lie our laws. And the laws, let's say, come from God, but they operate through the king. And as long as the king is living, or as long as the king has left his will to us, those laws are physically real. If the king is still alive, and or if the king left a will, then the laws have to be physical. And if you destroyed the paper on which it was written, or if the king dies, then I could perhaps be persuaded to agree with you, Nadim, and say, well, now you don't have the right anymore. But
The physical one, but the metaphysical.
both, you don't have either. In that case, you don't have either. But now you see that in that case that I've given to you, the king is no longer the king. So as long as you have a king that grants you certain rights, those rights, from my perspective, they have to be both metaphysical and physical. And perhaps I'm mistaken. I don't think I'm seeing it wrong to say that whenever you have a society, whenever you have laws, that you have both a metaphysical and a physical right, and losing access to the physical, to part of the physical aspect of the right, doesn't deny the fact that you have a right. So in that sense, I think that the traditional position is closer, ironically, to the modern conception of rights than it is to this idea of duties without rights, because at least the stupid modern conception recognizes the materiality of, let's say, needing a connection between the metaphysical and the physical, because without the physical, the metaphysical doesn't exist.
Sure. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying, but it's, you're just physically relaying the metaphysical. So I'm not saying that, like if a physical thing, like I'm not saying that like the right could be seen only metaphysically. It's impossible. Like you need the physical to be able to know what a gift from God is. But I'm saying it's just, you're just physically relaying the metaphysical. So like I don't believe you still physically own the house, because you can't get near it. Like if you can't get near the house, you don't physically own it anymore, but you metaphysically do. And in a physical way, that you could express that through the monarch.
Well, but like, yes, that's my point. In so far as something has a presence in the world, like if you have a thought, the thought is not just metaphysical. The thought is also physical, because you're having it in an embodied experience. So
Yes,
the
but
fact that
it's the metaphysical through the physical that's being felt, not that the physical is on its own, because you need the metaphysical for the physical. I don't. So I, like my perspective is, it's just the metaphysical is being relayed through the physical. I'm not a Gnostic I'm not someone that believes, oh, we're all part of the metaphysical and we don't have anything physical and the physical is just an illusion. But I'm saying the metaphysical is related through the physical, but it's not its own without it. It can, like, nothing physical isn't metaphysical. So the physical could not exist, but the metaphysical could still be, and it could be the metaphysical just expressed through the physical, and the physical doesn't become something of its own because it's always related to the physical, to the metaphysical. So I think if you're arguing to that, I think we just found common ground.
Yeah, I think we agree on that. I think there's a slight difference that we can also make, which is there's the historical and there's the, let's say, the practical. The historical difference would be that if you had a right and you lost the right, still the fact that you had that right in the past means that that right has an ontological reality and that it had a material reality as well in the person of a king. And the practical,
Sure,
which is
but the moment you lose the material one, you don't have the physical right anymore. You have but you still have the metaphysical one. You still have
yes,
it. If the monarch is still alive, you lost the physical, like majority, like the thing that's important, like the physical right of owning a land is not important if you don't physically, like you can't physically use that land. It's but you still have the right to that land, only metaphysically. So I don't think the physical part of it is even important to say, because you could say that it's the metaphysical expressed through the physical, not the.
no, I disagree. And you know why I disagree, Nadim? Because and you should think about it as well, because you live in the Middle East. In the Middle East, there's lots of wars, and a lot of possessions change hands, and like they are lost in the generations, and they're lost to time. And the way I'm looking at it is that the rights being real is directly tied not simply to God, but rather to the particular king. So if your king dies, do you still own the land? The next king has to be, by definition, the owner of the land that you're supposed to be, that you were the owner
Exactly.
of. So
Through
you
God,
don't own it anymore.
yeah. That's my point. That was my point. So through the metaphysical, the king relays the physical, but metaphysically you still own it, even if the king is dead.
And that's where I would say no, because like, let's say you owned this land, you have a king to which you respond to. That king is killed, then the new king gives that land to someone else.
No, but
You still have the metaphysical right to that land? No.
yes, you do, because it's what is just in the eyes of God. If a king misplaces
How do you know? How do you know?
Okay, so if a king misplaces you and throws you away just to give it to another, is that just or unjust?
I would say that the king is the true, like, the one to decide that. Like, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. A president has a lot of ministers. To his ministers, he grants authority over different areas. Let's say if he has a minister that he feels is doing a poor job, he kicks them out. He takes those rights from them and gives them to another person. It's the same
That's the
thing.
problem on using the word right, because physically it is taken, like you physically it is taken away, but not metaphysically. Like what is just in the eyes of God doesn't change.
But
Like,
then
it can't be just for you in one moment and then in the other not.
how? Why not?
No, actually, no, it's contradicting. But this, no, actually, that was contradicting. But like the land, for example, the land, like if you paid, for example, the former king own that land. Like a king usually doesn't just throw away land and gives it away, like we're talking about. But like they do provide something in regards to that. So you still have a duty to fulfill to be able to get that land. Not get that land for free. It's not like it's still related to duty. So you paid that king a certain amount to be able to own that land, or even in a modern society, you bought a house, okay? If someone comes in and says this house isn't yours anymore, you that's unjust.
If they're the king, it could be just. Let's say,
And you're thrown, you and your family are thrown away from the house. How is that just? You just say, I don't know, maybe in the eyes of God it is. Is that your argument?
like it could be like, for example, let's say I own a very good piece of land that is very important. The king depends on the productivity of that land for revenue, and I'm paying what he like the proper amount, but he finds someone who's better at running, let's say, the land and being more profitable.
And you never owned the land. And the king always owned it.
Well,
Think
ownership in practical terms always implies, let's say, an ultimate authority. Like even in a democracy, the paper that says you own the land, in reality, the owner of the land is the state. The state
Okay,
is
so you have
granting.
no right in owning. You don't even own a land. You never own. You're just renting, or you're just like there temporarily. There is no like ownership presupposes indefinity. So like you don't even own the land of the king. So we were arguing something that's useless because the king owns every single part of land. So he's not
Well,
even giving away the right of ownership. He's giving away
No,
right of position or of
no,
of,
no. But I don't look at ownership. I don't look at ownership that way, because, for example, the way I look at ownership is fractal. So, for example, my kid has a toy. Yes, the toy is my kid's, but I own my kid and I own his toy. And the king owns me, and not only does he own me,
he owns
he
the
owns
toy.
he owns the toy. Yeah.
I gotta head out, you guys. You guys have a wonderful night.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, man.
it was nice talking to you, John.
Good talking to you guys too, as always. Have a wonderful night.
Yeah, I don't mind changing my views actually on that, but I look into it more, and maybe not. I don't really care anymore, to be honest. But I don't think I'm saying anything heretical. I'm just like there's any doctrine on what I'm saying, and I'm not saying like we were all like we all should submit to like complete authority, or that wouldn't even exist, because if a monarch doesn't give us any gifts, then he'll just be thrown away in a second. Like like we can't live without any gift. Like a society doesn't even function. Like even a super tyrannical leader does give out gifts in some way. He allows people, like the moment he doesn't kill everyone in his land, giving away a gift of not being killed. If you think about it, so it's impossible. It's impossible to exist as a leader of a country without giving away gifts. So at least the gift of being able to be alive in the land, because then it would be
Okay. Okay. Now we're ready. We're ready to have our own kingdoms, and
and also I think it's useless to talk about that, because like like the important thing is just to live try to live like as simple of a Christian Orthodox life, like be the like there was like talks in the retreat I was super, it was great actually, like about us being lights of the world and us being lights in our parishes. That's basically the most important thing, rather than just like to have a good philosophy, or like to be a good I can acknowledge I'll be wrong and stuff, and I don't need to get into it every time. Like it's not, I don't think I'm a heretical thinker in that sense, in that case. So just we need prayer. That's the more we need the saints to intercede with us. And I'm thinking of like, I don't think I'll just hop on other streams. I'm not gonna do any streams anymore, because like I talked with my deacon about the sinlessness of the Theotokos, for example, and he told me like, no, there's no doctrine, and I thought there was a doctrine that the Theotokos was sinless completely, but that's not doctrine actually.
No, but it's tradition.
No, it's not like tradition in his point of view. For example, like Saint John of Shanghai says that she wasn't completely sinless because it would take away her merit, any merit of repentance, or any merit of her being, because she wasn't able, like she was safeguarded by God to be not sin, but it would take away her merit of overcoming all the temptations. I think that's what Saint John Maximovich says.
Nah, I don't agree with Saint John, but
Me-
it doesn't matter.
I came across that yesterday, so I'm still trying to, because my view before was that she was sinless completely, and
Yeah, it's still my view, but we can keep talking about those.
yeah,
things.
I don't know. I think we can talk about it on Discord or something. But
Yeah, well, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you, Nadim, for your time. Thank
Yeah.
you guys for watching. It's been super good, at least for me. But it's been way too long. Like this is a almost 2 hour live stream. We come from a 3 hour live stream, and before that we had an almost 40-minute live stream. So it was almost 6 hours live streaming. So it's way too much. Way too much.
I'm super tired.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Nadim, for your time. Lord have mercy.